All right, we are moving on from area and surface area and volume and moving into decimal operations. So the first thing today you're going to do is write these two numbers in expanded form. Some of you may not remember what expanded form is, so let's review. If I had the number 373, I would write it as 300 plus 70 plus 3. I am writing it for each place value. Does that make sense? Good. Please do those two, and I'm giving you about a minute and a half. Go for it. Put your computer away, please. Tell me how to do number one.
The entire thing?
Yep.
200 plus 40 plus no, it's not 0.1, it's 1/10.
1/10
plus 200.
Exactly. Do I need to put the 0 that was in the ones place? No. Is it wrong if I do?
Yes.
No. Because the 0 isn't going to change the answer. They give it to you as a decimal. It needs to stay as a decimal. Go ahead. 5 plus 600. That's it. Just writing it in place value form, guys. Any questions? All right, let's look at the next page. We have a thinking question for you, but before we do that, let's talk about decimals and fractions for a minute. Recall that you can write decimals to represent fractions with a denominator of 10 or a power of 10, such as 100, 1,000, 10,000, and so on. So if I have 210, I can write that as 210. Yes? If I have 600, I can write that as 600 because that is the place values for the decimal. Does that make sense? Okay, so you need to keep that in mind. Steve saw this advertisement outside a convenience store. He went in and handed the cashier a penny to pay for his bottle of water. The cashier told him that it wasn't enough money. Who is correct? Explain your reasoning. I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to discuss in the tables and get an answer written out about who is correct and why. And then we're going to come back and talk about it. Go for it. All right, raise your hand if you think the cashier is correct. Raise your hand if you think Steve is correct. All right, so let's look at it. What is our key part of this problem? Say that again. What part of the money? No. No. What about it?
It's saying how much the bottle of water is.
What's important that we look at? Jack? I mean, I get that, but which part of the price is important? Okay, the decimal is important. What other part is important? The cent sign. Okay, so my question is, does it have a whole number? No. So this is telling you it's 0 cents. There's no whole number, so it's not even a whole cent.
Oh,
That cent sign is important, guys. It's telling you this is less than a penny.
that's what I put. Like,
If they didn't have the decimal there, it would be 99 whole cents. But right now, it is less than 1 cent. So you can't have the decimal.
well, yeah, I just put the cent sign. That's what I may have to like so they put that right here. Because that's not like
Yes. But it would just be, it would not have the decimal. Then it would have a dollar sign, not a cent sign. You cannot have the decimal and the cent sign together because it is telling you it is less than 1 cent. Does that make sense? There is no whole number. So Steve was correct. The sign is saying that it costs less than 1 penny. Why? Because it has a decimal and the cent sign. You should be writing this on your paper, not talking to your paper. All right, we are going to go on to number 2. Consider the representation shown for the cost of each item. So you're looking at the representations and you're going to circle the ones that are correct. And if it is not correct, you're going to state why. So for A, we're looking at representations of $1.50. Which ones represent that? Circle it. If it doesn't, tell me why. And B, you're looking for representations of $1. Circle the ones that show me that. If it doesn't, tell me why. Any questions? All right, you have about 2 minutes to do number 2. Go for it. All right, let's look at A. Thumbs up if $1.50 represents $1.50. Thumbs down if it does not. Okay. Put your computer away. $1.50. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay, why?
Because it
Because it says cent. Not dollars. All right, 1 and 50 hundredths with a dollar sign. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay. And 1 and 50 hundredths with a cent sign. Yes. No. This represents 1.5 pennies. All right, B. Does the first one represent $1? Thumbs up or thumbs down? There's not very many people voting. 100 cents. Yes, there are 100 cents and $1, so that represents $1. The next one. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Yes. And the last one. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Correct. This represents 1 penny. Any questions? Let's look at the next page.
About, and this is what a rational number is. So want to take note of this because this is very important for journal entry for today. A rational number is written in the form of A over B, where B is not equal to 0. That's what important. We have not yet determined not have something and divide it into nothing. Okay? Someday that's going to be probably one of our next big breakthroughs in math. Right now we can't take something and make it nothing. So if you can write a decimal as a fraction, then it's what we call a rational number. Most decimals are pretty easy to write as fractions because they've given you what place value it is. You write it out of tens, out of hundreds, out of thousands, whatever the place value is. However, there are some decimals that you cannot write as a fraction because they never end. The most common one is pi. Pi goes on forever. We've taken it out to a million places. I'm not found anywhere where it repeats. So there are just very certain ones you can't. Most of them you can write the decimal as a fraction, meaning it is a rational number. When we are looking at rational numbers, sometimes you need more precision between whole numbers. So the decimal point in a number separates your whole from the fractional part. The digits following the decimal point represent a value less than 1. So we use a number line to help us represent decimals. And it's just taking in those spaces in between the whole numbers. Okay, we're not going to do number 1 because we didn't have those 2 as we came in, so we're going to go straight to number 2. So on this one, if I look at it, they've given me 0 and they've given me 1. How many spaces are in between? You can count, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spaces. So what would the value be for each one of those individual tick marks then? 1/10. So you can go through and you say, okay, well that's 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10. Just like this, right? So you add those in if you needed to. Do I have to write them? No, but if it helps you, you can write it. What do I do after I get to the 1 though? Now what do I write? 1 and 1/10. So I just now I'm doing 1/10, 1 and 2/10. Is this making sense so far? Okay. Now let's talk about how we plot numbers because we haven't really talked about that yet this year. So I'm going to do part B. If I'm going to plot a number on the number line itself, I'm going to draw a dot where that number would be. So I look at the number, I say, okay, it's going to be after 1. It's going to be after 3/10, but it's going to be before 4/10. So I'm looking somewhere in this area, correct? The 8 tells me it's almost to the 4/10, doesn't it? So within this little section, I'm going to actually take it down, and I'm going to say, okay, well, that's going to be somewhere right around here. Now, when we do this, on the bottom side of our number line, we put the numbers. On the top line, I put what I am putting at that point. So in this case, I put a letter B above it. Does that make sense? That is how you plot a point on a number line. Okay? So you've got 7 more to do. You can finish off your number line if you need to. If you can count it, that's fine as well. But we'll give you guys about 6 minutes. Finish off this one, then you can answer number 3 and 4 if you get the chance. Right, focus on getting the number lines done first. Okay, 6 minutes. Then you go. It's on. I'm sorry. Okay, so just really quickly, all I said was I'm looking at 1, so I'm after the number 1. I'm after the number 3/10, but before the number 4/10. So I'm somewhere in this area, right? The 8 means that I almost made 4/10. So I go just past 1.3, almost to 1.4. I draw my dot. That's where that point is on the number line, and I label it with the letter that it represents. That point is representing. Make sense? Hey guys, you got 6 minutes. Go. On this one, the key is to go by place value. It's going to show you where on the number line you're at. Let's pretend we like to think about this as money. Most of you guys can relate to money relatively well. So on this one, it's at the 0, so I know I'm starting here. I'm going to the 2/10, so I'm going to here, but then I'm going halfway past that. So A is going to be right here. C, this one is right at that interval, so 5/10, put a dot right there. D, that's another one right on my interval, so I go at 2, where I start. Then I'm going to the 3/10. So on 2 and 3/10, I'll make my dot. There's a D. The next one is at the 0. So again, I'm starting here. 5/10. So I'm going here, but then I'm going a little past halfway. So E is going to be just past E. Our next one, 2 and 90/200, means I'm starting at the 2 again, and I'm going all the way out. That last number is 2/10, means it's just a little bit past it. So we'll make it so it almost touches it. There's our F. Our next one, 1 and 75/100. So again, I'm past the 1. I go to the 7/10. Then the 500 goes a little bit about halfway past that. There's our G. And then our last one is right at that interval, 1 and 1/10. So that's what your number line should have looked like. Any questions on any of those? Okay. So I think you're seeing the biggest thing to do on this is just go by your place values, guys. Start with your whole numbers, go to the tenths, go to the thousands. That's going to show you where in that interval it's going to be. So which number has the greatest value or the least value? Which one has the greatest value? Why, Lisa? Okay, I liked it all the way till you gave the actual value. I've got them all laid out. How do I know F is the biggest? Layla? Furthest where? To the right. Because it's furthest right. Which one is the least value? Yeah? Because it's furthest left. Good. So I hope you guys are catching what we want you to talk about when we are talking about which one has a bigger value. How do I use that number line to compare numbers? The biggest value will be to the right. The least value will be to the left. So least is left. Greatest is right. That will always be the case. Because we always lay our number lines out from left to right. Smallest value to the left, largest value to the right. That's going to be really critical when we start talking about negative numbers next year. We'll get to that in the third quarter. Any questions on anything on this page? Okay, let's go to our next page. So now we're going to have you guys, and actually I'm going to walk you through this because we got to put the video up. And I got a couple things I want to get to. We've only got 7 minutes. We got to go through homework. So analyzing the number line. Yes, ma'am. I know. That gives us 7 minutes and then 5 homework. So we're going to label each tick mark on the number line, decimal value it represents. Then I'm going to plot points to represent 3/10 and 4/10. So we have two things we have to do. Our first part, to label our tick marks. You have to use what they've given us, right? So they've given us a 0 and 2,500. There are how many marks in between? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what is each individual tick mark?
10, 5/10. What?
5/10 is bigger than 2,500.
Oh, wait, no, 500.
500. So my first interval is 500. Yes, your place value matters. That's a lot different than 5/10. But 5/10 you would be wrong. Because 5/10 is actually here. Make sense? You gotta be careful on your place values when you're doing this. What's gonna come after 5/10? 10/10. Technically, do I need that 0? No. Is it gonna be wrong if I put it? No. So whichever one makes you more comfortable, if you're okay with just leaving it as a 1/10, you can. But because we're going by 5s, to me it's easier to put it in there. Because for most of you, can make it go more logically. That gives us 30, 35, 40, 45. And then it asks us to plot our points for 3/10 to 5/10. Meaning, I'm going to put a dot here, and a dot here. I've now plotted those 2 points. Everybody okay with that? Okay. Now I need to plot and label 4 points to represent decimals between 3/10 and 4/10. So I'm doing 4 different points. So where could I start? To be between 3/10 and 4/10. It's already written. I still need 3 more though, right? So now what can I do? Well, I could do 3,200. Oops, get ahead of myself. 3,200. I could do 3,400. I could do 3,800. Is that 4? No, that's 4 between them. Could I have done any other one in there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Your choice. Doesn't matter. Just ask for any 4, right? Okay, so that gets our next one. Ironically, this was our most missed question on the quiz last year. Write 4 decimals between 4,500 and 4,600.
You just add more to the item.
Give me an example. Yeah, 456,000, right? I could have 4,501, couldn't I? I could have 4,501. I could have 4,59999. Right? Are all those between 4,500 and 4,600? Yeah. Am I really limited in picking 4 numbers between them? Absolutely not. There's actually an infinite number of numbers in between those 2 decimals. And I can keep going with those 9s into eternity.
Well,
That makes sense for everybody. So our next one, this one gets a little more intricate. We're babysitting. The neighbor's doing the 4th grade work, and what they have to do is circle the grade and decimal in each pair shown. You have to tell her which one she got right, which one she got wrong. So on that first one, did you circle the right one? Are you good on that? Okay. Second one, did you circle the right one? Why not? Maddie?
4 and 7 grades.
Good. If I look at my place value, the 4 is greater than the 3, so this one should have been circled. Let me give you guys a little hint to help you. If I'm looking at numbers that have different place values, sometimes it's easier to add zeros so that they have the same number of place values. If I did that, I'd put a 0 here, and you can see 40 is bigger than 35, right? Does that make sense? What about for our next set? Why not? Yeah?
Because the 9 is in the 9 is in the 100th place, and if you add a 0 to the place,
Good. Again, that can, for a lot of you, make it easier. Place values, you'll see 60 is bigger than 9, right? So this one should have been circled. What about the last set? Why not? Yeah. Place value. Any whole number will always be decimal. 4. Okay, here's our last part. You can also do fractions and the same number line. Let's compare them. So this last set is one that you're going to be doing in your homework, so I want to go through it real quick. What you need to do, plot each pair of values on the number line, then use your inequality symbols. Are you familiar with those? Okay, so we use those pair. So if I have 9, 10, they've given me 10 intervals, so 9, 10 is going to be here. 7,100, well, I go to the 7 passed it. There's 7,100. Which one's bigger? 9/10. I always like the alligator. The alligator eats the big side. So it goes to the larger side. Our next one, 1,500. That's going to be right here. 1/4. That's a fourth of the way through. So that's going to be right here. Which one is larger? 1/4. 3/4. That's going all the way over to here. That on the recording. 6,700 is going to be just before the 7/10. Which one's larger? 1/10. Also right there. Which one is larger? Equal. Makes sense. Any questions on anything we covered so far?
No, sir.
Okay, let's look at our homework. 125. Your journal entry. Use your own words to define that number. We just gave you the definition. I'll give you it. Fractions. Our next part, we just did this exercise. This we can. I'm trying to do this with the kids. Plot each decimal on the number line. Remember, numbers go underneath, the letters go above. You've got 6 of those to do. Write 4 decimals between 8,200 and 8,300. Did that type of exercise. That one should be really easy. Here's your big one. Order the decimals from greatest to least. You have to pay attention to the order they want. So if it says I'm starting with the greatest, what comes first? The biggest number or the smallest number?
Biggest, sir.
Biggest. And because I had trouble doing this today, it's out of the whole set at each row. Okay? So don't just put numbers beside them, list them out. So you're going to start by the place values. I'll give you a hint. They all start with 5-1. So you're going to start in the ones place. That's going to be your first differentiator between them. Then you just go by place value. Okay? Going on to the back side, 126. Compare the values using your inequality symbol. Quick number line will probably help you on them. You draw a quick number line right in beside them. Just plot them on the number line as to where they would be. Number 5, Janet's dogs had 8 puppies. She recorded the weight of each puppy at birth. List the weights in puppies in ounces from least to greatest. So which one am I starting with? These. Again, if you want to put numbers on them, that's fine, but make sure you start via list. I want to see all of them written out. Any questions on your homework?
Sir.
Guys, the homework honestly is pretty easy.